So, peace. So, this video is about why I left the Democratic Party, and I left a long time ago. So, I'm gonna keep this real short. The first time I voted for president, I was already 21, 22, and I voted for Ralph Nader. That was the rigged election. I believe the election was rigged for George W. Bush. But the Democrats right away blamed Ralph Nader for causing Al Gore to lose, which is BS. So, then they were shaming people like me for voting for Ralph Nader. Older people that voted for Ralph, they were shaming them. How could you vote for Ralph Nader? You help Al Gore lose. They didn't want to blame the system because the Democratic Party is part of the system, so they would have to admit that they're flawed. So when I saw that, it was almost like they were shouting down and verbally beating down people who are openly supporting Ralph Nader, talking over them, kind of like how conservatives did that with people who were against the war in Iraq. Now, leading up to the invasion of Iraq, again, I saw that Republicans and Democrats were going along with the invasion and shaming anybody that was against it. And of course, Bill O'Reilly called anybody who was against the invasion of Iraq anti-American. They even fired Phil Donahue for doing an episode about why the invasion of Iraq is wrong. I mean, Phil Donahue has been on television since I could remember. Since I was a baby. I mean, he was untouchable until that day. So, fast forward, Obama, I was still a registered Democrat. I did vote for Obama against Hillary. And, he was using the language of Martin Luther King Jr. and he was talking about change and hope and all this. So after he beat Hillary, or right before and right after, he started saying that Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush were great men of honor. Obviously, if you know anything about history and the facts, which nobody seems to care about anymore, Ronald Reagan and George Herbert Walker Bush are war criminals. They supported genocide. They allowed the CIA to train mercenaries who butchered men, women, and children, and machine gun men, women, and children in places like El Salvador and Guatemala and Nicaragua. So, let alone the whole Iran-Iraq war, right? So, that right there said to me that Obama wasn't going to change anything. It was bullshit. I saw it right away. I called it right away. Nobody else called it. They wanted to believe, they wanted to support him because he was the first black president. Technically biracial. His father was from Africa, and his father was an African American, so it would have been more historic. I voted for Cynthia McKinney. I ended up voting for Cynthia McKinney. It would have been more historic if Cynthia McKinney would have become president of the United States, being that her ancestors were actually slaves in this country. That would have been epic. But nobody wanted to support her or back her up. So instead, they supported a biracial president who, on the outside is black. He's darker than me, and I'm Puerto Rican. And I fell for it up to a point, and I called it right away. And I'm like, this guy's bullshitting everybody. And like I said, it would have been more epic if Cynthia McKinney would have won. So after that, and they were shaming people for not voting for Obama, or saying that they were going to vote for Obama, clowning them on the radio and all this. But anyway, fast forward, let's keep it moving. So I'm gonna skip over Donald Trump because I don't really care about Donald Trump. He's trash. You know what I'm saying? Like, anyone who believes Donald Trump is an honest person, you're fooling yourself. But I see from then to now, a lot of African Americans are leaving the Democratic Plantation. That's a good thing. That's a good thing. Mental plantation is just as bad as the old physical one. Both bad. But what I see is many younger people are leaving the Democratic Plantation and are being brainwashed to go to the Republican Plantation, which is a big mistake. And I've seen this as a kid in the 80s, watching, seeing, and then learning later on in the early 90s how many Democrats became Republicans under Ronald Reagan because Ronald Reagan was a nice guy. He seemed honest, and even though he wasn't, we know now through tapes and everything else that Ronald Reagan was a war criminal, that he viewed African people as monkeys, and so but I'm glad they're leaving the Democratic Plantation, but you're being fooled into joining the Republican Plantation. It's a cycle. It's a cycle that's happening again. The same cycle that I saw that older people, that happened in the 80s, that I'm sure older people remember when Democrats became Republicans under Ronald Reagan. Is the same thing is happening again. It's a cycle of brainwashing, and I left the Democratic Plantation to become independent, not to become part of the two-party plantation, and to be part of the national security state or support the national security state. I do not support the national security state. I do not support the Pentagon. I do not support the CIA. I do not support the FBI. For the younger people who are younger than me, who are being brainwashed to doing the Republican Party or thinking about doing it, I would say, hold on, live your life first, have a little work experience, go outside, see the world, or go outside and just have a job, maybe even live on your own, and then take time to read, take time to listen to alternative news that's on the radio or on YouTube. Take time to read a book. Just go to the bookstore, go to the library, and see what's out there. Question everything. Don't just accept everything. Question everything, including what's coming from the Republican side. It's not that hard. For me, I was always objective anyway. I don't know why. That's just the way I am. I never trusted any politician. I woke up right away. I was fast on that. I don't see people being fast on it, because what I see is younger people going to college and right away getting involved in politics instead of just being a regular student in college, maybe getting a part-time job, or go to trade school, or then graduate, and then whatever you graduated for, get that, and then live your life, and then make up your mind. It's almost like they're rushing into things, And I could definitely tell you that the Democrats are not communists. The Democrats are imperialistic and at times very hawkish, like the Republicans. The Republicans and Democrats supported the invasion of Libya and Syria, and support for the overthrow of the Ukrainian government, and supporting the civil war, and then selling arms to Ukraine, the current Ukrainian government, and Israel, and Saudi Arabia. So if you're leaving the Democratic Plantation, do it. That's a good thing. Leave the Democratic Party. Leave it. I suggest everybody should just unregister with the Democratic Party. What I'm saying is, don't join the Republican Party. Just pay attention. Pay attention to everything that's going on. Learn about Flight 800. Learn about the Kennedy and King assassination. Learn about the trial of Lloyd Jowers, the state of Memphis, Tennessee versus Lloyd Jowers. Learn about the Robert Kennedy assassination, the documentary RFK Must Die. There's a documentary called 9/11 Mysteries. Once you, do reading. Just read. There's books out there that that are not right wing or left wing. They're investigative books. Read those. Go to the nonfiction section, the non-political nonfiction section, and don't read anything political. That's where you get brainwashed. Just just do that. And then you're gonna see what I see. But I've been seeing it this way since I was 19. When I was 19, when I was 18, 19, I saw the Iran-Contra documentary for the first time, and that woke me up. That freaking woke me up. And so, but I always believed in global warming. Global warming is still an issue. It's happening. The ice is melting is not coming back. This is not a cycle. It's not coming back. There is not going to be another ice age or nothing like that. That's bullshit. Like I said, step back from politics and just concentrate on investigative news and reporting and journalism, and that's where you're going to get your truth. And also find out who's funding certain channels or YouTube channels or news organizations that are spreading propaganda lies. That's how you also find out the truth. But I'm glad I'm registered. I'm not a Democrat no more. I don't think the two-party system. Well, unfortunately, so many people are being brainwashed, and this whole COVID-19 thing. This is another reason why I'm glad that people are leaving the Democratic Party, because of the forced vaccinations, the killing of free speech like they did with the invasion of Iraq, the censorship on YouTube, not allowing people to question if these vaccines are healthy or not. No healthy debate. So this is a problem, and that's why so many people are leaving the Democratic Party, and more people are going to leave. And I'm encouraging people to leave the Democratic Party. But what I'm saying is, don't join the Republican Party, because they're fooling you too, and they're lying to you too. So just be independent or start a third party, or start various third parties. But don't join the Republican Party. Do your research on El Salvador. Once you do your research on El Salvador alone, that's gonna make you look at Ronald Reagan and George Herbert like, holy shit, how the fuck can you do something like that? And look at the CIA and the National Security State and say, wow, you committed genocide. So people just want to be political. People just want to jump into something, but they don't want to investigate or read. Reading is fundamental. Reading is still important in this day and age of AI and digital platforms and everything else. I still think reading is important. Go to the bookstore, go to the library, read. You know what I'm saying? Don't read political books. Read investigative books that investigate different things, and that's where you're going to find the truth. Donald Trump is not a good person. I'm from New York City. I know about his father. Do your research on Fred Trump. Donald Trump, dealt with the organized crime because they control New York City, and he didn't have a problem with it. He was best buddies with Giuliani the whole time Giuliani was mayor of New York City. Many conservatives love Giuliani. I don't. Just do your research. Don't get brainwashed by the two-party system. Just like when they tried to impeach Bill Clinton, and there were Republicans leaving the Republican Party, and some of them became independent. That's good, but some of them became Democrats. Not good. There's so many books out there about real history and investigative reporting and journalism that there's no excuse not to know the things that I'm bringing up about El Salvador, about the assassinations of the Kennedy brothers and Martin Luther King. Everybody should know this by now. but you're being brainwashed, and that's not good. You know, you may come across articulate, but you're not coming across smart. I know because I know the truth. You know, so that's all I have to say.